So the third statement in chapter 5 is the four empowerments function even with a single deity. So here, first thing is, when it's talking about the four empowerments, then in terms of, so first of all, back up even a little bit more. It is said that generally speaking, there are four levels in the tantras. These are called the four categories of four levels of tantra. So there is action tantra, then there is performance tantra, then there is yoga tantra, then there is unexcelled yoga tantra. Yeah. Hence, four levels or categories of tantra. So some of you are familiar with this terminology, and some of you are not. So I should say something first before we look at this. So again, generally speaking, it is said that action tantra is the kind of the most preliminary level of the four levels of Vajrayana practice. There it is emphasized that now for all four levels of Tantra, the underlying point of yourself having Buddha nature and Buddha nature visualize or experience as this or that deity, that's a given in all four levels. However, how strongly you have to experience or identify with the deity varies on each of these four levels. With the first level, the deity is still somewhat separated. As so it's said that the deity is in front of you. The deity is in front of you. In performance tantra level, you are able to and you have to experience closing of the gap between you and the deity. In the yoga tantra level, it's even closer. And then in the highest yoga tantra, there's no difference between you and deity. Yeah. So this is like in theory, right? Then of course, given this four levels, right, all of us might think, oh, of course you practice the fourth one where you and deity are inseparable. Of course, like again, theoretically, intellectually, we want to say, oh yes, me and deity are one, samsara and nirvana, nothing different. This like mental, proliferation, namto, is wisdom, But as Khenchen Rinpoche says, yeah, yes, even if that is true, but if you have no capacity yet to experience that, then it's all just empty talk. Just talking like that is not going to really help. So yes, of course, fundamentally, basically, sentient beings and Buddhas, there's absolutely no difference. then use that's like Sutrayana expression. And Vajrayana expression, then yourself and deity has no difference. But do we experience that yet? Can we experience that yet? Probably not. Therefore, Buddha taught methods to first experience at least the deity in front of you. So in Kriya Tantra level, action Tantra level, don't want to confuse you with more terminology. Kriya Tantra is the Sanskrit, but in action Tantra level, primarily deity is in front of you, and you accumulate merit, they say, by inviting the deity to come in front of you. You make offerings to the deity, you sing praises to the deity, you invoke, you call forth the blessings of the deity, so light is shining on you, and so on and so forth. So there is, you can think of it as it's a way to prepare yourself, right? I mean, if in the first place, right, right now, I think, again, for most of us, we don't even have a notion of this deity, as in Buddha. We have the superstitious understanding of deity, as in someone that is going to come rescue us, someone that is going to solve our problems, right? So that is the problem of theism. So right now we're still on that primitive level of relating to deity. So for a proper understanding of deity, the way the Buddha explained deity, we start with Kriya Tantra level. So we invite the deity to come into the space in front of us, before us, or maybe you could even say, yourself come before the deity, then you make offerings to the deity, you see the qualities of the deity, you're inspired by those qualities, therefore you praise those qualities, and that's what those praises are for. It's like helping us kind of focus and understand their qualities and be inspired by their qualities, be inspired to do what? To inspire to ultimately, I want those qualities. Then on the action, on the performance Tantra level, the next level, it is said that you bring it even closer. Yoga Tantra, even closer. Unexcelled Yoga, the fourth, inseparable. Now there is if you want to go more into it, they have like, where is that line between action and performance? When do you, move from performance to yoga and yoga to an unexcelled yoga? Frankly, long time ago, I looked into, I was studying that, was taught that. And frankly, I have to confess, I think those lines are a little iffy. Yeah. And but never mind, I think more important for us to understand is the general rationale behind this idea that the Buddha's tantras and the Buddha's Vajrayana teachings can be divided into these 4 levels. Yeah. Then, so one analogy for this closeness to the deity is to use the analogy of, and of course, Vajrayana is sometimes very cheeky, playful, and sometimes playful to the degree that sometimes you will think, oh, that's not just playful, that's like crossing the line. Why? So one example given for these 4 levels of deity uses the how ordinarily human beings experience relating to someone else. Then, of course, it's Vajrayana, right? So then they're going to use something sexual. Then, of course, sexual is nothing shocking to human beings unless you're pretending, not to know these things. But for a monastic context, that's like shocking, as in, hey, we're doing everything to kind of separate ourselves from those things, But Vajrayana is going to kind of, bring it back in and kind of scandalize, Uh, but that's the Vajrayana style, Anyway, so it says that think of it in terms of two people relating to each other. So at the action tantra level, basically it's you are smiling at each other. As in, you see this other that you really like. And so now you're smiling at each other. So that's the level of intimacy, smiling, Then performance tantra, now you're embracing. Now you're hugging and touching each other. Then at the yoga tantra level, you are kissing now. And then at the highest yoga tantra, you are finally in sexual union with. That's how they put it. But this is to show, of course, how you can experience the deity in increasingly more kind of inseparable. Yeah. Now, then you say, okay, so when we do the Vajrayogini practice, Nairatmya practice, or Tara practice, or Jinrizi practice, what level is it? Is it action tantra? Is it performance tantra? Is it yoga tantra? Is it highest yoga tantra? And whenever you ask, I think lamas, most of the time they will try to give you an answer like, oh, this belongs to this tantra level, this belongs to that tantra level, this belongs to this tantra level, that tantra level. If you actually follow, if you ask someone and they say, oh, this is this tantra level, then you say, wait, in the sadhana that we do, how come blah blah blah? You can always but hey, if you say this is this tantra level, let's say you say like this Vajrayogini or this Tara practice is this tantra level, but in the sadhana, how come la 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 la, whatever, you can always find elements that will make you kind of doubt, whatever is said about what level that deity practices. And most of the time, I think if you push that issue, the teacher will probably say, it doesn't matter. Part of the reason why like that is, even though there is these four levels of tantra, basically you can say that in almost all cases of Tibetan Vajrayana practice, from the longest sadhanas, that is this thick, to sadhanas that are only 2 pages, you can say that more or less they are all practiced based on the what level? Any guesses? Speak, please. What level?
Action.
What?
Action.
Anyone else want to place bets?
All of them.
All of them. What else?
Well, actually, they are the unexcelled because you merge with the deity. But it's our capacity to.
Yeah, right. Of course, the capacity issue is always there. Yeah, but basically, all these sadhanas are more or less designed after the unexcelled. Basically, yeah. In terms of the design of these sadhanas that we do, they're basically all unexcelled. Even if the deity, right, like that particular deity is highlighted in an action tantra, yeah, because there are all these sutra, like there are all these like texts that have the title tantra attached to them. That is like there is the tantra, Tara tantra, there is the Tara tantra of this sort and that sort, not just one. There's the Avalokiteshvara tantra of this sort and that sort. There's the Manjushri, there's the Hevajra, there's the Chakasamvara, blah, 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 all of that, right? More often than not, Tara, Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, all that, usually they turn up in tantras that have been classified as action or sometimes performance. In fact, if you look at all the tantras that are in the Tibetan canon, the most number is actually parked in or classified under action and unexcelled. The other two, maybe 3 or 4 tantras, 5 or 6 tantras. Then hundreds over here, hundreds over here. So in a way, these 4 levels of tantra, if you ask me, I know this will offend some people, they're kind of arbitrary classifications. Okay? But as far as the sadhanas that we do these days, basically they are composed, designed based on a unexcelled yoga tantra level with plenty of elements taken from the other levels. So yes, there is the praise, there is the making of the offerings, there is the inviting, all of that. Which, you can find in the other levels. But for all intents and purposes, it's, the sadhanas are composed based on the highest yoga, the unexcelled yoga tantra. Sometimes very explicitly, you can see all the elements there. Sometimes not so explicitly. The shorter it is, the harder for you to see all of it. The longer it is, then you can see the whole 9 yards. That is from the unexcelled tantra, yoga tantra level. Now, so the unexcelled. Then it is said, only in the unexcelled yoga tantra level do we have what's known as the 4 empowerments. Yeah? Only at only the deities and the practices that are from the unexcelled yoga tantra level do you have the giving and the receiving of the 4 empowerments. So here, coming back to statement 3, when it says the 4 empowerments function even with a single deity, yeah, this statement is a little, not surprisingly, is shaking people up a little. Because again, generally, action tantra level, the mandala of the deity is very simple. Usually one deity, maybe surrounded by 4 attendants, yeah, but generally one deity. Then high unexcelled yoga tantra, many, many deities, 1, 5, 9, 15, and it multiplies to Kala Chakra, for 722 or something like that. The unexcelled. So here in this statement, it says, the 4 levels of empowerment is present, functions, even with a single deity. The ones that are the stickler to, no, this level of Tantra, only this level of Tantra, only this, only this, only this, they will say, no. A single Tara practice of visualizing just Tara, doesn't cut it. At most, it will only have the vase empowerment. At most. The other 3 empowerments, no, not possible. Here, Kyopa says, the 4 empowerments function even with a single deity. So then we learn that. What is it then? So the line above, people claim that if the wheel of the mandala is not complete, a wheel of the mandala means like the circle, mandala circle. Wheel, I think, is too literal, the translation. A circle in the sense like we say, what is your social circle? Right? That means you and people around you. Your family circle. So your circle of the mandala means that, right? People claim that if the mandala, meaning the deity, is not complete with the different families, meaning eastern direction, southern direction, western direction, northern direction, if this deity practice doesn't have, all of this, empowerment is not possible. As in, those 4 empowerments are not possible. Not possible to give, not possible to receive, not possible to practice. Kyoba Rinpoche says, the 4 empowerments function even with just a single deity. No need to even have male and female in union, because sometimes they say, if you don't have a male and female in union, how are you going to give the 2nd and the 3rd empowerment? Because the 2nd and the 3rd empowerment is based on a male and female deity in union and the symbolism from there. But Kyoba says, no, even just a single deity, even just single Tara, she has already what is needed. Okay, now let's look at Chodra's commentary. For bestowing the 4 empowerments to disciples, a deity of the mandala in which the 3 seats are complete is certainly necessary. So Chodra says, yes, of course. So the 3 seats, what are the 3 seats? Again, technical term. 3 seats are, meaning the 3 groups of Buddha figures that is in a highest unexcelled yoga tantra mandala, which is the Buddhas, male and female, first group. Then surrounded by immediately the male and female bodhisattvas, and the 3rd group, male and female wrathful protector deities. So these are the 3 seats. Male and female Buddhas, male and female bodhisattvas, male and female wrathful deities. So Chodra says, yes, of course. for bestowing the four empowerments, we do need a deity with a mandala with these three seats all present. Now, his opening line seems to agree with the other view. The other view that says, if you don't have a mandala with all these features, you cannot give, the empowerments won't happen, won't work. So this opening sentence, Chodrat seems to agree with the opponents. But of course, he'll say, however, if you are saying that an empowerment is insufficient because these three seats are not explicitly complete in a single deity, since, and so he points out, actually, only in the Manju Vajra and Kalachakra Tantra are the three seats explicitly mentioned. So he's saying, actually, even among the unexcelled yoga tantras, right? Only in these two tantras are the three seats explicitly identified and mentioned. So he says, basically, if you're saying that, unless the three seats are explicitly mentioned, therefore, that deity doesn't qualify, then you are taking it too far, he says. Your statement goes too far. I have not seen it clearly stated in any of the authoritative tantric texts that it is necessary for the three seats to be complete in an explicit way. Therefore, the three seats are by implication complete, and in truth, the three seats are also complete within a solitary deity. So basically he's saying, any of these deities that the Buddha taught, a single deity without all the complexity of like four directions, there are four other attendants or four consorts, and then, multiply, the whole mandala feature, he says, that's just the explicit display of all the aspects in which the central deity naturally already embodies. So he says, no, it's not necessary. Moreover, when bestowing an empowerment, the bestower of empowerment is the body of the Vajra master, meaning the one that actually is kind of carrying out, right, the ritual empowerment. It's the physical Vajra master. Yeah, so he's pointing, this section is good to know and to try to remember, like in an empowerment, what are all the key elements necessary? Well, first, you need someone who is physically there, who is capable of carrying out the ritual. So that's the first. The basis of bestowing is the mandala produced in front of oneself, such as a Sen mandala. So meaning there has to be some physical representation in this ceremony that becomes the basis for giving the empowerment. The means of empowerment, now, even though there's the basis in the sense of support, as in a physical representation. But what is that physical representation like really doing? It's helping us. It is a basis, as in it is a support for the actual means of empowerment, which is the mandala visualized by the disciples, by the master. So meaning, right, If I have a mandala made of sand or painted or even constructed in 3D, right? There, it's a basis as in it's a support for the teacher and the initiator and the initiates to experience, to visualize. Visualize here means experience the actual mandala. So that needs to be present. The thing to be empowered, what is being empowered? The body of the student. What does it mean by body? So this is actually talking about the vase empowerment. As in, what is being empowered here is all the five aggregates, the sixth sense consciousness, and the sixth sense objects, and the sixth sense faculties. All of that. That is what is being empowered. The empowering substance. So like what is the physical things that is used? Is the water in the vase and so forth. Meaning sometimes you eat something, sometimes you smell something, sometimes something put on your head, a red dot and a crown. So those are the things. So those are necessary, he says. All these are such that the three seats are certainly complete within them, and this completeness must be understood by both Vajra master and disciples. So Chodrat says, what's more important is that everyone involved understands these things. And it's their understanding that brings forth the power of the three seats. Moreover, since the activities of empowerment are not complete if the three seats are not known to them as the actual completeness of the apparently incomplete, the ritual would be impure. And the three seats are the seat of the Buddhas with their consorts, the seat of the Bodhisattvas with their goddesses, and the seat of the male and female wrathful ones. This is Tibetan style of writing, Like you're like, hey, like our style of writing would be, hey, tell us that at the beginning, they tell you this at the end. Then so here, the next section. And this is something that we have heard many times, when we go to empowerment. Concerning this, meaning the three seats, what are they actually doing? Here, one visualizes that the five Buddhas invited into the space in front of oneself perform the activities of bestowing empowerment. The consorts are singing Vajra songs. The Bodhisattvas utter auspicious verses. And the male and female wrathful ones expel obstructors and so on. Yeah, you all remember that? I don't know how many times I've said that. More explicit here is usually the text says the male Buddhas are using their mind, meaning their intention, the power of their mind to truly empower the one being empowered. Then the consorts are the ones pouring, holding the vases to pour the elixir into that person, to fill that person. Then the male bodhisattvas are singing Vajra songs. The female bodhisattvas, the goddesses, are singing auspicious words. Then the male wrathful deities are like chasing away, dispelling obstacles. The female wrathful deities are, protecting the integrity from the inside. So the wrathful is expelling, the wrathful males are expelling problems. The wrathful females are keeping, intact, right? The mandala. Then, in fact, then it also says, then all the other gods and goddesses are strewing flowers, right? Throwing flowers into the air, and saffron and music and all of that, right? A whole big procession and party is going on. So that you need to experience, to visualize during the empowerment. Moreover, so then that is just like the external aspect. Moreover here means the inner meaning of all of that needs to be recognized, which is the natural purity of the 5 psychophysical constituents, meaning the 5 aggregates of the Vajra master and disciples, the 5 Buddhas, of the 4 great elements, the consorts, of the internal faculties such as I, the bodhisattvas, of the external faculties such as form, which is the goddesses, and the 8 great joints, the male and female wrathful ones. In definitive truth, these are the 3 seats. Now it's making the correspondences. The 5 male Buddhas, they are the 5 skandhas. The consorts, usually in these empowerment texts, they only talk about the 4 consorts. I'm not sure what happened to the 5th one, but here they match it with the 4 elements. Then, right, the 6 sense faculties, the power to see, to smell, to taste, to touch, those are the 6 bodhisattvas. The 6, then what is seen, what is heard, what is touched, what is tasted, they are the 6 goddesses. Then the joints are talking about the joints in the body. Those are the male and female wrathful ones. So in other words, it says, more important is the disciples need to recognize the 3 seats as all complete within him or herself, and also can see that the Vajra master also has the 3 seats. That this is what needs to be present. Furthermore, the 3 seats are certainly complete, since the deities generated in front of oneself, as well as the deities of the substances of the empowerment, have the natural characteristic of the Lord of all families, Vajrasattva, who is of the single family of the Great Secret, and they also have the natural characteristic of the 3 secret families, the 5 Buddha families, and the 100 families of the excellent ones that issue from the single family. Alternatively, since the deities generated in front of oneself and so forth have the natural characteristic of 100 families, in that each of the 5 Buddhas is the lord of 5 families, equaling 25, each coupled with their 4 consorts, equaling 100. The 3 seats are certainly complete. In short, all the 3 seats are complete in just Tara, in just Vajrayogini. Moreover, so it quotes the Guhya Samaja Tantra. In short, the 5 aggregates are the Buddhas, all the Tathagatas. The Vajra sense bases too are the supreme mandala of bodhisattvas. The element of earth is Lochana. The element of water is Mamaki. And Pandara and Tara are well known as the elements of fire and wind. So these are the correspondences. Moreover, the Sarva Rahasyo Tantra teaches in detail what has been expounded as mandala is the mind, the excellent mandala. What has been expounded as celestial palace is the mind. the lofty supreme celestial palace. Seat means essence, and these words mean that the three Buddhas and so forth are introduced. Thus, they are certainly necessary. The rest is, again, like these people say, actually, it is not true. Not very relevant to us. Yeah, we don't need to. In Sobish's notes, on the end of his notes for this statement, it says, Dorje Sherab tells us, right? If one recognizes all constituents of the person and the six senses, their objects and consciousnesses as the Buddha, one obtains empowerment just as it is. Based on that, one will also obtain the other three empowerments. So one obtains empowerment just as it is, meaning one obtains the first of the four empowerments, the vase empowerment. Based on that, one will also obtain the other three empowerments, namely the secret, the wisdom, and the word empowerments of the highest Yoga Tantra, the unexcelled Yoga Tantra. Questions, comments?
Dr. Lai, I'm going to have to read this again. Most of it I don't understand. But let me ask one thing which has been very confusing to me, is that when we're reading in the Vinaya, even for lay people, sexual activity seems to be prescribed. Yet in the visualization of this deity, the deities, particularly the idea of the consort, they're in sexual union. So for me, that's very confusing. That on the one hand, we're told to avoid sexual desire.
Yes.
But then we're visualizing a deity that's in the act of sexual union.
Yes.
It's confusing.
Oh, yes. Yeah, hence Vajrayana. There's nothing else to say except that hence, Vajrayana. Hence, there are Buddhists who don't accept Vajrayana and say this is, degeneration. But for Kyoba Rinpoche, if you want to ask, it says, well, at this level, it's no longer sexual activity. And so then, therefore, if people think, this is sexual activity, then you have to work on this at a lower level, so to say. Again, just because it's the highest level doesn't mean we go there. It doesn't mean that. Yeah, the fundamental principle of Vajrayana. So not just sexuality. Sexuality is just one part of it. The other part of it is, what is it? Violence. Right? So in Vajrayana symbolism, there's also a lot of very violent symbolism and oversexed symbolism. So this is what is this? Attachment and aversion. So taking attachment and aversion, like confronting attachment and aversion directly, if you have the capacity. But it's also saying that in the end, when you are on 8th Bhumi Bodhisattva, when you actually break through to that level, then attachment and aversion has to be directly realized, and in that way, completely purified, done away with. Yes, so sometimes you will find references to how on the Hinayana level, you are taught to temporarily curtail. Like, so the analogy of poisonous plants, it says that on the Hinayana level, there, because the person is not yet ready and skilled enough, so the Buddha teaches all the various poisonous plants that can harm you if you go into this particular forest. So let's say all the different poisonous plants, like poison ivy of all different types. So Buddha basically says, don't go in there because there's all this poisonous plants in this forest. Then on the Mahayana level, it says, Buddha says, however, these plants, among them, there are also plants that can be used to save lives. So now I will teach the antidotes to the poison, so that when you go into this area, in case you get poisoned, here are the antidotes. But go in there so that you can take those plants that are beneficial to others. And so now you have gain, right? It's not that because Buddha gave you, got it, but like now you are, confident enough to recognize, oh, that's a poison ivy. Oh, that's a healing plant. You can tell the difference. Now you have the ability to go in there. Third, the example given is those who are extremely skilled. Just like some doctors will know how to use poison to counteract poison. Which is basically, I don't know what you'll think about vaccines, but that's what it does, right? It introduces, right, the virus to get the body to produce the antibodies. That's like a high level science. That's why, some people are like, I don't know if I want to do it because you're putting that virus in your body. If you're not Vajrayana. So again, this issue of attachment and aversion, and finally ignorance. So therefore, at the levels that we are at, right, we don't think, and we have no capacity to handle attachment and aversion directly. So for the most part, we are taught to see the faults of attachment, aversion, and confusion. But we should not be fixated on that either, right? And always just be terrified and say, oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah. So here in the end, then it's not saying, like right now, in any case, any of us can use these advanced techniques, but we are training with a facsimile. I'll give an analogy that maybe doesn't make so much sense, but maybe it will work. I don't know. Let's see. It's like the breast, and specifically women's breasts, right? For a lot of men, it's sexualized. But for a mother nursing a child, right? This is life-giving. So if we hide away this, then it's like this dangerous and exciting, sexualized object. But when you see the mother nursing the child, right, and understand that, in other contexts, you might sexualize it and get all excited and do all kinds of things, Here is also the truth of what this is. Can you see that? So in part, the Vajrayana symbolism, the Vajrayana images are also getting us to see that. That both attachment and aversion, when we misperceive them, then they are things that we chase after and the things that we run away from. But when we see them as they are, neither chasing nor running is necessary. Yeah?
It sounds to me like what this whole process is about is it's like the shadow that
Yes. Please
the
say.
more,
Yeah.
the more we hide and disavow these parts of us that we are afraid of or think are bad, the more we miss the whole point of working with them and seeing that we don't have to be pulled around. The more you run from something, the more you don't really understand the meaning and what you are able to do with it to see more clearly. I mean, the shadow is where we are in this country, I think, to extrapolate a little bit.
Or this world, actually.
This world, that's true.
I listen to BBC. I don't listen to American news.
It's not.
It'll show you everywhere. This world is just in upheaval. But true colors, so to say, or at least one shade of true colors, like it or you don't like it, it's there. And so whatever illusions that we were hiding under, it's just made explicit,
But in the case of the imagery of Buddhism, you have to have something you can relate to before you work through it.
Yes.
And everybody can relate to the sexual union as
union. Yeah, and that's the Vajrayana, and of course it is controversial. Many other Buddhist traditions don't accept. So I'm not, all I can say is like, at the end of the day, you either accept or you don't accept. But in Vajrayana, it tells you already. It says, now we're entering dangerous territory where we are not where we will not shy away from, directly working with these shadows. Yeah? And I think for most of us, the take-home lesson is not so much that we go to the degree of how these shadows are expressed in this material, in the Vajrayana material, literally, because actually for literally, until your 8th Bhumi Bodhisattva, no capacity. So that's why in again, according to Kyopa's explanation, what we're doing now is we're practicing a facsimile of Vajrayana. We're not even on the first Bhumi yet. So we are practicing a facsimile of Vajrayana. We don't truly enter the ranks of Vajrayana until we are 8th Bhumi. So take-home lesson is, here when we're doing the facsimile, then the take-home lesson is, we have to be more aware of the shadows, and to whatever degree we can work with the shadows, we work with them, but also knowing and having a healthy respect for the shadow, and not get cocky and think, I can conquer the shadow. Then the shadow will consume you. That it's also not skillful to, I don't want any hints of the shadow. So to those who say, so in some of the statements here, I think one of the statements we'll see this, some will say, well, given that, let us not even get close to any of this Vajrayana stuff until you have graduated Mahayana. And let's not touch any of the Mahayana until you have graduated perfect renunciation of Hinayana, right? The very kind of, you have to graduate from Hinayana before you start Mahayana. You have to graduate from Mahayana before you can go to Vajrayana, right? Kyoba Rinpoche also rejects that approach. He says, no. That's the other extreme. You don't have to do it that way. We'll see, the commentary explaining why he says that's also not the way to do it. This idea that, until you are perfect renunciation, you should not practice bodhicitta. Until your bodhicitta is, blameless, you should not practice Vajrayana. He says, no, that's not how it works either. So again, how it works is that, even as we are primarily really parked in the Hinayana, on a good day, we are parked in the Hinayana parking lot. We have some sense of renunciation, that we are practicing Dharma, not to make samsara a more comfortable place. On a good day, we are parked in the Hinayana parking lot. Even though we are parked in the Hinayana parking lot, we can admire and aspire to Mahayana motivation. And we can also have some confidence in facing the shadow, but not going fully into it, knowing that one of these days, when I'm 8th Bhumi Bodhisattva, yes, I can, grab the shadows by their horns and, work through them. And you say, oh, when is the day going to come? You don't worry about that. The day can come in the next moment. And the day can come in 1,000 lifetimes from now. Hard to know. And that's why Kyoba Rinpoche doesn't say, or Kyoba Rinpoche say, no, it's not the case that you wait until you graduate this before you go to this, you graduate this, you go to this. Because right now we also have no idea, for the most part, how much we have cultivated in the past. There is a good ticking time bomb. Tick, 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 kaboom! You have arrived at the first bhumi. Who knows?
Dr. Lai?
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the opening statement, 5.3.
Mm-hmm.
The creation of these deities is occurring in our mind, correct? We're visualizing.
Opening statement where?
Voucher statement 5.3. The four empowerments function even with a single deity.
Single deity, yes.
Yeah. Since the deities are being created by our visualization, we're visualizing them, yes?
Yes, but the deities are not created by the visualization.
Okay, but we have to visualize them for them to be truly present for us.
Yes. Yeah, okay. We have to experience them to be present.
So as our skills in visualization become better, as we become more habituated, like I have trouble sometimes getting a clear visualization even of a single deity, let alone one with
so here it's more the experience of the presence of the deity rather than, like visualization in the strict sense of the word visualization.
Okay. But the statement is implying that if we have a strong ability to create even one of the deities, that is sufficient to receive the empowerments? Is that what this means?
No, the statement is more saying that even just one deity, without all the elaborations, don't think that the deity is missing anything.
Okay.
In other words, don't think that, oh, it's only Tara. Or it's only the 2-armed Tara. I should go get the 8-armed Tara, more powerful. I should get the Tara with, 21 sisters surrounding her. Oh, that's surely very powerful. Whereas the one Tara with 2 arms, boring. Yeah, that's like the key point here is about that. Yeah. So in the larger pattern that we're seeing with the way Kyoba Rinpoche approaches all these different topics, is basically he is not a fan of the over classification, stratification, class, dividing of things, and to become like a, for lack of a better term, like an obsessive, like fundamentalist, Hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? Hey, what about this? Oh, that's missing. This is missing. He's saying, well, missing or not is up to you, More important, your mind. Now, later in these Vajra statements, so here he's emphasizing, right? One deity, single deity, 2 arms, even just Buddha Shakyamuni. There are some who would say, oh no, there's no empowerment with Buddha Shakyamuni, because Buddha Shakyamuni Nirmanakaya is the Hinayana level representation of deity, therefore no empowerment. What is this empowerment business you're talking about with Buddha Shakyamuni? Kyoba Rinpoche will say, what do you mean? Of course, Buddha Shakyamuni can be the basis of giving empowerment, receiving empowerment. Yeah, so this would be this statement. further down in this chapter, so now, before we go too far and think, oh, therefore, simple is good, right? Actually, in one of the statements, he says this, and this is very interesting. He says, the more advanced you are, the more elaborate the ritual system you should use. Which is so opposite of normally what people think. People say, oh, now I practice Mahamudra, now I practice Dzogchen. I don't need any of those things anymore. Kyoba Rinpoche says, actually, the more skilled you become, the more you will get out of this very extensive use of symbolism. Which of course makes sense, you know. So in his way, you start with one deity and trust that the one deity has all deities. Then when you can truly appreciate, digest, benefit from 700 deities, then of course you should go that direction. Because there are subtleties to be discovered. So you start with simple use of bell and vajra, for example. Then, as your capacity grows, right, your use of bell and vajra will become more meaningful, more meaningful, more meaningful, more meaningful. It becomes more extensive. You can see more and more the interdependence that is going on. Right now, we cannot see the interdependence. So then we say, you know, oh, why? Why this? Why that? You know. Of course, the teacher has to be skillful. You know, if the teacher overloads the trainee, if the trainer overloads the trainee with too many details, then it will prematurely injure them at worst, or scare them away, or even injure them. But if the trainer doesn't know when to say, okay, now you need more. You need to add 5 pounds, you know, to your weights. Now add another 2 pounds. Now add another 3 pounds, you know, to increase the weight so that you actually build up, you know, strength. Then the trainee will get stuck also and think, oh, this is it. Oh, no, this is not it. There's more to unfold and more to unfold. So elsewhere, Jigten Simgun also says, you know, actually, the more advanced you are, then the more extensive the ritual system. And by that principle, it also is saying, you know, the more advanced you are, right, then the more you need to investigate and not just leave it in the vague sense that, oh, everything is fine. The more, when you develop the capacity to actually go see what is not fine, then it's skillful, it's productive. Yeah. Back to the shadow, you know. At the beginning, you might say, I don't want to have any shadows at all. So let's go to Disneyland. Right? Why they hide all the shadows, for sure. It's because they work in the shadows, you know, to give this, like, you know, magic kingdom. Yeah, this wonderful magic kingdom. How is your day at the Magic Kingdom, right? If you go to Magic Kingdom, there's no outside news. They ban all news, fake or not fake, you know, because you have entered this Magic Kingdom. There's no shadows at all. So that would be like a very beginning of the path. Then slowly, you know, have you noticed? There is a shadow. Ooh, right? But no need to confront the shadow, but just to know it's there and know that, oh, there is a shadow. Then as you progress along, then you can handle more and more, then yes. Okay. So this week for the morning classes, this is it. Then of course it's for many of you, this is Christmas season. Especially those of you in Latin America. I know you like to party. You are inherently very social, but please, we want you to be able to be social for more years. So practice some restraint. This virus can be, for many people, I think it is, like you're not going to die from it. Like right now, looking out, without naming names, I know a couple of you have already, recovered from it. So in that sense, it's not that scary. But you never know whether you are one that will fall to it, or worse is, if you give it to someone that will fall victim to it. It's too heavy to carry around this kind of, I'm not even talking about karma, but just, right, to have to carry around that knowledge. That was what scared me in that sense, thinking like, oh no, I need to self-quarantine, even though it's not me sitting in the bus, but I, because if I like give it to someone, whatever someone's karma, it will still cannot, absolve, so to say, my own burden that I will carry around. So just be careful, and yeah, there are still places to go, right? Gongchik this lifetime, at least once. So and for me, it's like there's still many things to eat. So precious human life. That's one Kempo one time said, he says, hey, it's precious human life, So if you are not going to practice, then okay. Then if you're not going to practice, then you better enjoy your life, because you're not going to get it again so easily, It says, but if you're not going to enjoy it, so now in this context, to enjoy it, first you have to be sure, that you'll be sticking around to enjoy whatever it is that you enjoy. Yeah. In the teachings, it says, like the Poa teachings, for example, which prepares us, right, for the transition between this and next lifetime. In there, they also say, they warn, they say, it's breaking your samaya, your Vajrayana samaya, if you prematurely perform this poa. A lot of times this statement gets people worried and concerned. Oh, well, I accidentally poa myself to death, I said, actually, don't worry about it. You don't have that power to accidentally transfer your consciousness out of your body and now you're dead. I said, the take-home lesson in that is not, to me, it's not about that you will accidentally poa yourself to death. The take-home lesson there is, even as we're learning about poa, learning about the transition, learning about death and dying, this lifetime we have met the Buddha Dharma with all the possibilities of change and transformation and ascending to the first bhumi, especially receiving the vase empowerment, truly receiving vase empowerment. It's like ascending the first bhumi, the path of seeing. Therefore, we have to do everything we can to make sure we don't lose this. Because next life is very hard to tell whether we have this opportunity or not. So don't squander away this precious human life where you have met the teachings that can put you on the first bhumi. In fact, the first bhumi is the most important step to get to. And then only if you cannot reach the first bhumi in this lifetime, then, Amitabha, please take me, take me, take me. Yeah. So that's why you're always working on two tracks. One is first bhumi, Then also in case that doesn't happen, Amitabha, don't forget me, okay? Because it's also, that is like the insurance backup plan, because it's easy to get to first bhumi in Amitabha's Pure Land. But you cannot say, therefore, can I get to Amitabha's Pure Land sooner? Say, no. That's like the bird in the bush. The bird in the hand is what we need to really appreciate right now. So it says, don't prematurely poa. That's the meaning. It's not like you will practice, hick, oh, dead. No, I can tell you, I don't think there's any documented cases of anyone accidentally hick, and then dead. Even though there are no scientific papers published on that, I'm pretty sure, there's nobody who hick, and, ended up, wait, where is this? It's saying, don't just because, again, the nihilistic part of some of our karma. We come to Buddhism, we think, oh, everything is suffering. Buddha says, oh, everything is impermanent. Therefore, it's okay if I die, what to do. No. It says, you don't endanger. So in fact, one of the 14 downfalls, for example, after you have taken Vajrayana empowerment, you have to keep these samaya. Then there are 14 main things that can endanger your samaya. One of them is called abusing the 5 aggregates, meaning this body and mind. So yeah, staying up all night, watching Netflix or scrolling news, that is abusing the 5 aggregates. Then that is, you are like, what's the word? You are tempting karma. Don't do that. Yeah, so you have to protect your samaya by not abusing the 5 skandhas, not denigrating the 5 skandhas, not mistreating the 5 skandhas. Just because the 5 skandhas, in another context, is the basis for the experience of suffering, but at the same time, you cannot denigrate the 5 skandhas. You cannot mistreat the 5 skandhas. Yeah, so keep that in mind. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, Happy Hanukkah. I don't know what else, Happy solstice. Well, I'll see some of you tomorrow and hopefully some of you on Wednesday night. Chanchu Semchu Rinpoche Magye Banam Ge Gyurche Gepa Nyampa Me Payam Gone Gong Du Bill Warsho. Tata.
Thank you.
Gracias, felices fiestas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias, felices fiestas a todos y que nos
Happy holidays.
volvamos a ver pronto.